For years, the internet has spread a massive misconception that completely undermines the legacy of a legendary trainer. People everywhere loudly claim that Ash never won a true Pokemon League championship until he traveled to the Alola region. They point to the Kanto Plateau and laugh at his early exit. They point to his tough losses in Johto and Sinnoh. They look at the heartbreak in the Kalos region and say he was always destined to be the runner-up. But this persistent narrative is completely false and highly disrespectful. Ash lifted a major championship trophy decades before he ever stepped foot on the sunny shores of the Alola region. Today we are setting the record straight in glorious detail and proving his ultimate victory in the Orange Islands. This was absolutely not some minor side quest or practice tournament. This was the Winter Cup. This was a grueling 6-on-6 full battle against an elite undefeated champion. This was the exact moment Ash stepped out of the shadows and proved he was a brilliant tactical genius. People dismissed the Orange League simply because it was different from the traditional gym circuit. But different does not mean easy. The gym leaders in this tropical archipelago tested a trainer on their deepest connection with their Pokémon. They tested pure skill, extreme speed, and unconditional trust. By the time Ash reached the majestic Pomelo Island to face the Supreme Champion Drake, he was firing on all cylinders. He was no longer the naive rookie from Pallet Town who relied on luck and pity badges. He was a seasoned, highly intelligent competitor with a unified team of absolute warriors. He was ready to shock the entire world and etch his name into history. Standing in his way was the ultimate challenge. Drake was the supreme leader of the Orange Crew. He was an undefeated titan of the battlefield. Nobody had ever beaten his full team of 6 Pokémon. Most challengers who traveled to Pomelo Island could barely get past his first few defenders. Drake stood tall with his legendary companion Dragonite at his side. He radiated supreme confidence, immense power, and absolute authority. The massive stadium on Pomelo Island was packed to the brim with thousands of cheering fans. The tropical ocean breeze swept through the grand arena. The stakes were incredibly high and the excitement was absolute. If Ash won this battle, he would be immortalized forever in the Palace of Triumph. His brave team would go down in legendary history. Ash looked across the sprawling battlefield. He did not flinch for a single second. He did not let doubt cloud his mind. Instead, he smiled with pure, unadulterated excitement. He knew his friends were ready for the fight of their lives. He trusted his Pokémon with his whole heart and soul. The referee raised the official flags. The greatest and most strategic battle of the classic era was finally about to begin. Ash was about to show the entire world what true championship battling looked like. The battle kicked off with massive, explosive energy. Drake sent out Ditto to test the young challenger. Ash responded by calling upon his very best friend, Pikachu. This was the ultimate first test of intelligence and adaptability. Ditto immediately used Transform to become an exact replica of Pikachu. The two electric mice stared each other down before trading incredibly powerful attacks. Brilliant yellow thunder shocks lit up the tropical sky. It was a perfect mirror match of pure speed and electric power. But Ash realized very quickly that simply trying to overpower a perfect copy was a dangerous game. He needed to be brilliant. He needed to use the environment to his advantage. When Ditto launched a massive electric attack, Ash commanded Pikachu to use his tail as a grounding rod. Pikachu slammed his tail into the earth, harmlessly absorbing the massive shock. It was a stroke of pure defensive genius. Pikachu then countered with immense speed and power, striking Ditto with a devastating attack that secured the first glorious victory. Ash proved right away that he was thinking 3 steps ahead of the undefeated champion. Drake was pushed back, but he remained calm. He sent out his massive rock snake, Onyx. Ash confidently swapped Pikachu out and sent in Squirtle. The type advantage was crystal clear, but Drake was an elite champion for a very good reason. He ordered Onyx to use Dig, plunging the massive beast underground to control the entire battlefield from the depths. Squirtle was trapped on the surface, vulnerable to a surprise attack from any direction. The audience held their breath, but Ash smiled with total confidence. He commanded Squirtle to fire a massive hydro pump directly into the open hole. The immense torrent of high-pressure water flooded the underground tunnel network in seconds. Onyx was blasted all the way up to the surface in a spectacular geyser of water and mud. The crowd absolutely erupted in cheers. It was a stroke of absolute tactical genius. Ash had perfectly used the defensive strategy of his opponent against him. Squirtle followed up with incredible speed, claiming a huge and decisive victory. Ash was completely taking control of the match. He was dismantling the undefeated champion piece by piece, and the world was watching in awe. The incredible momentum continued to swing back and forth as the battle intensified. Drake brought out his tricky Jengar. Ash chose to counter with his magnificent and beautiful Lapras. The majestic ice-type glided gracefully across the water field. Jengar used its chaotic moves to confuse and disorient the battlefield. The match turned into a beautiful high-stakes dance of glittering ice and mysterious depths. Lapras fired incredibly accurate ice beam attacks, freezing the very air above the stadium. Jengar countered with massive waves of nightshade. The contrasting energy colliding in the dead center of the arena created dazzling, explosive fireworks. Both Pokémon gave absolutely everything they had to their trainers. In a magnificent and explosive final clash, their ultimate attacks met head-on. The resulting explosion rocked the entire stadium and ended in a spectacular double knockout. Lapras had done its job flawlessly, taking out one of Drake's most capable defenders. Ash proudly praised his beautiful friend for an outstanding performance. Next came a true earth-shattering test of pure physical power. Drake unleashed his massive Venusaur. Ash responded by calling upon his incredibly mighty Tauros. The charging bull Pokémon was an awe-inspiring force of pure nature. Venusaur immediately tried to trap Tauros with its thick, powerful vines. It tried to absorb his energy and halt his momentum completely. But Ash believed entirely in the raw, unstoppable strength of his trusted partner. He called for massive takedown attack. Tauros roared loudly and shattered the vines with sheer physical force. He broke through absolutely every single defense Venusaur attempted to put up. The sheer physical dominance of Tauros sent the massive grass type flying across the arena. Ash was absolutely dominating the flow of the battle. He was reading every single move Drake made and countering with perfect, flawless precision. The roaring audience could barely believe their eyes. The young challenger was putting on a brilliant masterclass in competitive battling. The intensity of the match reached a boiling point when Drake sent out his incredibly fast Electabuzz. Ash called upon his brave and loyal Bulbasaur. The courageous grass type fought with massive amounts of heart. Bulbasaur launched razor leaves and thick vines, trying to keep the electric powerhouse at bay, but Electabuzz was simply too fast and too strong. With a powerful Thunder Punch, Electabuzz managed to defeat Bulbasaur, but Bulbasaur did not fall in vain. He had exhausted the electric type and paved the way for the next stage of the master plan. Ash recalled his fallen friend with deep respect. He then sent out his massive fire-type Charizard. The incredible roaring flame Pokémon took to the sky and unleashed a massive wave of fire. Charizard completely overwhelmed Electabuzz with supreme aerial dominance and raw elemental power, securing another brilliant knockout. Ash was pushing Drake to his absolute limit, but Drake was not finished yet. He smiled deeply and reached for his final, most trusted Pokeball. The sky above Pomelo Island seemed to clear instantly. The ocean wind seemed to stop completely. Out came the legendary Dragonite. This was the undisputed absolute king of the Orange Islands. Dragonite was a powerhouse of unimaginable and spectacular strength. It possessed incredible supersonic speed, unmatched physical power, and a massive arsenal of wonderful elemental attacks. Dragonite immediately took total control of the battlefield. It moved like lightning, it struck like thunder. Ash sent Squirtle back into the fray. Squirtle fought incredibly valiantly, launching bubbles and water attacks with all his heart. But he was quickly overwhelmed by the sheer, unstoppable force of the dragon. Ash then sent out the mighty Tauros. The brave bull charged forward with all the power he could muster, but Dragonite simply caught Tauros in mid-air. It tossed the heavy, charging Pokémon aside like a simple toy. The situation suddenly looked incredibly challenging. Dragonite was an absolute, unbreakable wall. It seemed completely and utterly invincible, but Ash never gave up hope for a single second. He had a secret weapon that went far beyond mere strategy. He had a bond that transcended anything the Orange League had ever seen. He called upon Charizard once again. The roaring flame Pokémon took to the sky. The massive stadium shook violently with the sound of his triumphant roar. This specific matchup was the ultimate glorious redemption arc. For many long months, Charizard had completely ignored Ash. He had cost him the Kanto tournament. He had refused to listen to a single command. But absolutely everything changed on those freezing, snowy islands. Ash had stayed awake all night long to keep Charizard warm. He had rubbed his hands completely raw to save his friend from the freezing cold. He proved his unconditional, unwavering love. And Charizard realized in that beautiful moment that Ash was a trainer truly worth fighting for. That campfire trust was real. It was incredibly powerful. It was absolutely permanent. When Charizard faced down the massive, seemingly invincible Dragonite, he was not just fighting for his own pride. He was fighting for Ash. The spectacular battle between Charizard and Dragonite was the single most epic clash of the entire classic era. The two massive titans took to the tropical sky. They traded massive blasts of roaring fire and surging energy. Dragonite fired powerful beams of electricity and freezing ice. Charizard dodged and weaved through the attacks with supreme, breathtaking aerial agility. Ash called out brilliant commands, and Charizard listened to absolutely every single word perfectly. They were a flawless team. They were perfectly synchronized in mind and spirit. Charizard closed the distance with incredible speed. He grabbed the massive Dragonite tightly. He spun high into the upper atmosphere to execute his glorious signature move, the seismic toss. The two dragons plummeted toward the earth like a falling star. The resulting impact shook the entire island to its very core. A massive towering cloud of dust rose high into the air. When the dust finally cleared, Charizard finally fell. He had given absolutely every ounce of his energy, but he had accomplished something absolutely incredible. He had exhausted the unstoppable Dragonite. Charizard had proven his loyalty forever and set the stage for the final victory. Now it all came down to the absolute final stand. Ash had one single Pokemon left. It was his very best friend. It was Pikachu. Pikachu was completely exhausted from the early battles. He was pushed to his absolute physical limit. Dragonite stood tall across the field, heavily breathing but ready to unleash its ultimate attack. Dragonite gathered massive amounts of energy for an incredibly powerful Hyper Beam. The sheer, overwhelming force of the gathering energy threatened to tear the entire arena apart. Ash looked deeply at Pikachu. Pikachu looked back at Ash. They shared a beautiful nod of absolute, unbreakable trust. They did not need to speak a single word. They knew exactly what they had to do. Ash called out for pure, unadulterated speed. Pikachu sprinted forward with all the strength he had left in his tiny body. He used his thick tail as a powerful springboard to launch himself high into the air. He soared gracefully completely over the roaring Hyper Beam attack. He used his incredible upward momentum to land directly on the head of the massive, stunned dragon. This was the ultimate moment of destiny. Ash screamed his final, triumphant command. Pikachu unleashed the most incredible, most powerful thunderbolt of his entire life. The brilliant golden electricity surged downward through the massive dragon and lit up the entire stadium. The bright, blinding light washed over the cheering audience. The pure electric energy crackled and popped with absolute triumphant power. Dragonite roared loudly, completely unable to withstand the glorious, super effective electric blast. The giant dragon swayed heavily. It stumbled forward. And finally, with a massive, earth-shattering thud, the invincible Dragonite collapsed to the ground. The official referee enthusiastically raised the final flag. The glorious battle was totally over. Ash had won. He had actually done it. The massive stadium instantly erupted in a deafening, thunderous cheer. Ash ran excitedly onto the blasted field and hugged Pikachu tightly with beautiful tears of pure joy streaming down his face. He was no longer just a lucky rookie. He was a true, undisputed champion. He proudly lifted the Golden Winter Cup high above his head for the entire world to clearly see. He proved conclusively that brilliant strategy, pure love, and absolute trust could overcome absolutely any obstacle in the world. He proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that he was a true strategic hero. This legendary historic battle proved that Ash possessed pure champion-level skills right from the very beginning of his long journey. He utilized incredible, flawless team rotations. He formulated brilliant counters on the fly. He unlocked the true, hidden potential of his strongest companions through unconditional love and absolute dedication. His massive victory in the Orange Islands was a glorious, undeniable masterpiece of competitive Pokémon battling. It is a wildly triumphant moment that deserves total respect and constant admiration from the entire fanbase. Ash fully established himself as an elite strategist who could perfectly adapt to any massive challenge thrown his way. If you absolutely loved reliving this incredibly positive and totally epic victory, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now so you don't miss the next video. You will definitely not want to miss a single second of the glorious journey. Stay highly excited and keep battling with all your heart.